Good morning. Had to make sure my phantom power was on because sometimes I do that. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for the live Q&A session here on my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you that are just starting out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channels, I share with you tips, tricks, techniques that I do, things that I do every day in my own voiceover business. And then we get together in these weekly chats and talk about a topic or two. Are my intros too long? Do I even need to do an intro? I probably don't even need to do intros. You guys know who I am at this point, right? Anywho, every week we have a new poll. And this week the poll is, what's your biggest struggle with audiobook auditions? We're talking specifically audiobook auditions today. Audiobook auditions. Because, frog, because those who watch my channel are more often than not brand new audiobook narrators. So, and that's really the questions that I get most often are about, how do I find a title to audition for? Where do I find audiobook work? Do I leave a note for the author when auditioning? Questions like these. So this is your opportunity to ask them. For those of you who don't know, I am an audiobook narrator and have been for the last 8 years. I'm somewhere between 275 and 300 audiobooks produced at this point. If you have questions, please ask. That's what these live chats are for. So please ask away. And not only that, but then you have the community here as well. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. So if you have questions, please ask. And if I can't or don't get to it, then, oh, stomach growl, then the community will more than likely have an answer for you. So, but back to the poll. What's your biggest struggle with audiobook auditions? We're going to be squirrel. The responses were how to find or choose a title. 30% of you chose that response. 13% of you said afraid to start. 30% of you said confidence in performance. And 26% of you said audio setup and editing. So it's a pretty much an even split between how to find or choose a title, confidence in your performance in the audition itself, and then your audio setup and editing. Audio setup and editing is can be a bear and or challenge all in and of itself because of the variables that are involved in, studio to studio, voice to voice, equipment to equipment. But we can touch a little bit on editing. I think my best advice for those of you that are concerned about audio setup and editing is to join groups. Join Facebook groups, join Discords, join academies like our VO's Journey Academy, because the community can help you. If you don't, and I get it, not everybody has a ton of capital to start this venture out with, and you can't afford an audio engineer or someone like that in the beginning. That's totally understandable. But at the very least, join groups where there are peers, there are other working audiobook narrators that could give you advice. And don't be afraid to ask the questions, because this industry is one of the most helpful and supportive industries I have ever had the pleasure of being a part of. And no question is too stupid or too new or whatever, insert, whatever here. Just ask your questions, because somebody somewhere will have an answer for you. With that being said, I think what we're going to do is let's do this. Let's talk about a few tips for auditioning, and then I'll go into ACX and I'll show you specifically on ACX how I perhaps would choose a title. And I apologize for those of you on Instagram. You probably won't see, you guys see like this much of my face, so you probably won't see the screen. So come over to YouTube. Come over to YouTube where you can see the entire screen. Those of you on TikTok too, come over to YouTube so you can see my screen, because we're just chit-chatting here. But anyway, let's assume you're at the point where you found a title and you're going, okay, what do I do next? My advice to you before you start recording this audition is to read the audition a few times and make some decisions. But first, understand, again, the basic W's. Who are you as the narrator? Who are you talking to? And why are you talking to them? Those are the three basic W's you should understand about every script that you approach. And for an audition, it's equally important. Because you want to have a firm understanding of what you're saying and why you're saying it. Because you don't want to come off like you're just reading words or inserting artificial inflection or, my point is cold auditions probably aren't going to get you as far as one that you took the time to understand and fully embrace, interpret, take the time to interpret. I had a session with someone yesterday, and that's kind of what she was doing. She was putting forth what she thought was emotion, but she was holding herself back because she thought she was being too dramatic. But the scene that she was narrating was calling for tension, drama. It was calling for that. So allowing yourself to, put in those meaningful pauses, those intentional pauses, and to read slow or fast or, switch up the pace a bit, all of that stuff really matters. So if you have a full understanding of what you're saying instead of just reading the words, and just inflecting here and there because it sounds good, then you'll have a better chance of winning that audition. Keep in mind that the author that you're sending the audition to more than likely is going to receive hundreds of auditions, and the time it takes to listen through all of these auditions is going to be a bear in and of itself, right? They might even not get through all of the auditions. So with that said, if you see something that you want to audition for it right away if you can, because you want to be one of those first ones listened to, hopefully. And you want to hook the listener in those first few seconds of the audition, because that first few seconds is going to determine whether or not they keep listening, because they have hundreds of other auditions to listen through. So make sure that you're choosing a section of that audition that you have that you feel that you have a firm grasp on, and start from there. If it's a tense scene, you want to give it some tension, but don't try to show a little bit of range in that first 10 seconds if you can, if that makes sense. you want to hook them in and keep them listening. Um, how long auditions should be? I've always said no more than 3 minutes. I think 2 minutes is probably sufficient. Um, Another question I get about length is if the author sends an entire chapter, do I narrate the entire chapter for the audition? No. It could be that they just chose a section and sent it to you, and that was just the section they chose. You can choose any part of that chapter and read it. I have seen authors send small snippets of different sections, and the reason they do that is because they're probably different tones or they're different types of scenes, and they want to see how you handle those scenes. So if you do have a few different snippets of an audition or of different sections of the book, I would say if there's, let's just say there's three of them, I would pick a snippet, a smaller snippet of each, and then give them each in your best take. I have also seen authors send the entire book. They would upload the entire book for the audition piece. That doesn't mean that you need to narrate the entire book. It just means that perhaps the author didn't know how to just send a snippet of the manuscript. It can be kind of confusing if you put yourself in their shoes. You can understand that, I don't know how to, I just wrote the book. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. So they just upload the entire manuscript. So just choose a section that speaks to you and record that as the audition. If the author has perhaps not included anything for the audition, again, it could be their first time and they don't know what they're doing. Maybe it didn't upload properly. Who knows? But on ACX, you can actually go to the listing for the book on Amazon. And if that's the case, there usually is at least the uploaded print or KDP version, not KDP, Kindle version of the book. And sometimes there's that look inside, where you can read a few pages of the book to get a feel of what it is. Use that for your audition. Find something within those first 10 pages that you can audition with. You could do that. Or you can send them a demo and just make sure that you leave them a note. Hey, I didn't see anything uploaded for an audition, so here is my demo. If you'd like to hear something, in my voice that is your book, then please send it to me. I'd be happy to do that for you. What else? If there's character voices in that audition snippet, depending on the genre, let's just say it's a children's book, then yeah, your character voices are going to be more like caricatures, I would think. But if it's a fiction book, don't go too over the top with the character voices. Again, remember that audiobooks are a marathon. They are lots of work, hours and hours and hours of work. If it's a large book, like a 10-hour book, it's going to be at least probably 20, 30, 40 plus hours of work for you. So whatever character choices or character voice choices that you make sure that you can sustain those character voices. Subtle changes between character voices, because you're going to be doing these voices for hours and you don't want to wear yourself out. You want to make sure that you can maintain the voices. I would also say, what else? What are other questions that I get asked a lot? We have any questions on TikTok? I've been seeing stuff going on over there. Thank you for all the likes, you guys, on TikTok. I appreciate it. Do I see any questions? Questions? Post your questions. That's what we're here for. What else? You know what? I'm sure other stuff will come up as we go along our conversation today. But really quickly, I wanted to show you guys on ACX. And for those of you that don't have ACX available in your country, I apologize. But if you do have questions about something, then just ask. But ACX, I think, is one of the platforms that we work on the most. So this is also something that I tell a lot of people. And for those of you on Instagram and TikTok, come to YouTube so you can see my screen. But what I tell people when you're first starting out on ACX and you're looking for something to audition for, when you come to the filters, because you can filter through what kind of books that you want to audition for, I would even just keep the filtering at a very minimum, because again, this is not just overwhelming for you as a brand new narrator, it's also overwhelming for the author. There's so much to do, so many buttons and boxes to check. So there could be times when authors don't choose, they don't go through and they've, assign their listing a bunch of different filters. They might leave it open-ended because maybe they're just open to whatever comes. So I would say keep your filtering for the books that you choose at a very minimum. I've only got English selected on my filters. I've got just under 1,400 books that I can look at. And not all of them, they're going to be looking for a female narrator, of course, but you can see clearly on the listing what they're looking for. This one, A Christmas Wish, it was just posted. This wasn't here earlier. They're looking for a male, young adult, American Midwest. All of the filters that you were probably filtering, all of their selections are there. You can see what they're looking for. So just kind of filter through here. I did not exclude erotica. I should probably do that. Let's go to genre and let's do that. Let's at the very least exclude erotica. Oh, is it not here anymore? Oh, well. I guess we're going to leave it. We'll just go scroll past them. Okay, so what I'm looking for female English, American general, because I stink at accents. Inspirational adult. Okay, so this one's looking for royalty share or $50 to $100 per finished hour. It is a project length of 5 to 10 hours. That's a little bit more than I would do for royalty share, so let's just keep going. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Most of us start out with royalty share in the beginning, so let's look for a royalty share. Let's look for a royalty share. Okay. This one really wouldn't apply to me because they're looking for male and they're looking for a British accent. But just for the sake of looking at royalty share, let's take a look. So let's click on this one. And this is how I would decide on whether or not to audition for this book. All right, so we're looking at approximately 3.8 hours of finished audio. And keep in mind, every finished hour equates to about, depending on your experience level, is going to take you either 2 hours to each finished hour, or even up to 8 to 10 hours per finished hour of work to get done or to accomplish that finished hour. Meaning that finished hour includes all the narration time, all the editing time, all the mastering and formatting time. And again, if you're just starting out, it could take you 5 to 6 hours to complete one finished hour. So keep that in mind if you're just starting out. So in reality, this 3.8 hours could be 20 hours of work or more easily for someone just starting. So keep that in mind. All right. So it looks like the author gave us some notes here. Looks like they do have an audition script to download, but I want to look at about this title because again, this is royalty share. So that means that you and the author are sharing in the sales of each book going forward once this book is produced. So you want to make sure that this book is going to sell well and that perhaps the author is going to have a marketing plan for this book. And you as the narrator, this is a team effort. So you and as the narrator, producer, is also going to be expected to promote this audiobook as well. And a great way to do that, especially on TikTok, is to narrate sections of it live. I don't know if there's any author that would say no to that, but of course, run it past them, let them know what your marketing plan is. And if that's what you want to do, then, go live on TikTok narrating snippets of it, or record yourself narrating snippets of it and post them on social media as to, generate some hype around this book coming out. So you will also be expected to market this book as well. But what you want to look at is when the book was published. It looks like it was originally published just a couple months ago. So far, it's got 2 5-star ratings. That's a good start. The sales rank is under 1 million, so that's good. That's usually my rule of thumb. Depending on when the book has come out, and this one's fairly recent, it's under 1 million. So that, I think, what does that equate to? It's selling a couple every month, right? But keep in mind that audiobooks are gaining popularity. So, and it still continues to grow, year after year. I think it's like 30% or 15 to 30% that it's grown over just the last year. And that's expected to continue to grow. So if there's an audiobook version of this book, the sales could definitely spike or increase at the very least. So this one would be one that I would consider if I was male and had a British accent. Let's see, does he leave us any notes about... Oh, he does. Okay, so he says he's got proven success with a recent #2 ranking in British horror. That's good. Fully committed to the success of this brand, I will be applying my successful ebook marketing strategy aggressively to the audiobook launch. That's great. Male narrator with natural resonant British voice. So if I fit this description, I would consider auditioning for this book. But these are the things that you want to look at, especially for royalty share. Now, for per finished hour, depending on your availability and your experience level, I would say start out with something on the smaller side, if you can. Something that interests you. Nonfiction is typically how most of us start out because it doesn't involve any character work. It doesn't involve any like dramatic scenes or anything like that. But I'm not saying that nonfiction is easier. I'm just saying that there's a little bit less to it, but you still need to sound like, for nonfiction, you still need to sound like you are the voice of the author, that you are the where this knowledge is coming from, right? That you wrote these words. So there still is some work to nonfiction, but that's typically how people start out. So if that's you, then I would recommend, if you're going the nonfiction route, start with something a little bit on the smaller side and a topic that interests you, because that interest, that genuine connection to the content is going to come through naturally in your read. So just to see if we can see something, the time machine murders, that sounds interesting. Oh, here we go. And this is why I recommend to not choose a bunch of filters, because this author has chosen an unspecified per finished hour rate. They don't know. They don't know what kind of offers they're going to get. They're open to get whatever, the narrator that they like tells them that they're open to. So if you had chosen just royalty share or just a specific per finished hour rate, this title wouldn't have shown up for you. So this is why I say to leave your filters very minimal on ACX. I would say at the very least just the language that you speak or the languages that you speak, and then leave it open and then just scroll through and see what comes up. Let's see if there's any others. There's 139 pages of them. We're not going to scroll through all of those right now, but and also keep in mind, and I think, was this page 1? Because these books are changing all the time. Books are being posted all day long, all throughout the day, every day. So come back often. Come back to ACX often, because books are being awarded a job and being posted all throughout the day, every day. So check in often. Did I forget anything? I probably did, but we have a lot of comments. So let's go over to the comments and we'll start answering some questions. I don't see any questions on Instagram. Let's see, are there any questions on TikTokies? Did anybody ask it? Oh, you're awesome, Steve. Let's see. Any questions on TikTok? It doesn't look like there is. Okay. So let's go over to YouTube. We have a lot of comments on YouTube. All right. Sean was here early. Good morning, all from chilly Nashville. May your auditions go well. Your RH be friendly. RH means rights holder, which is the owner or author in most cases of the audiobook. Be friendly and your good reviews be numerous. Who reads their reviews? Does anybody actually read? If you've done a few audiobooks, do you read your reviews? Any of you on TikTok or Instagram? Do any of you read your reviews? Caesar says, "Oh, hi, Angela. It's amazing what a few years of experience can do. I didn't know how to answer the poll, but you know what? Confidence and performance is still a little stubborn gremlin. And that's the imposter syndrome, right? We all get that. I think touching on what I was saying earlier, the confidence in your performance is going to come through if you have a firm understanding of the W's, right? If you can silence the imposter syndrome and all the voices telling you, you know, all of the negative things that our brains tell us when we're trying something new, if you can silence all of that garbage and just focus 100% on the purpose of this read that you're about to do, just record it, go through it, make sure that, all the mouth noise for the most part that's distracting is gone, that you edit it well, right? I would even go as far as to say, make sure that your auditions are ACX compliant too, meaning that they're formatted to ACX's requirements, because that will also, that audition will sound like the final result. That'll give the author the idea of what the finished product will sound like. And I have also had a number of authors actually take your audition and put it into ACX's audio lab just to see if it's ACX compliant. ACX compliant. Because that is a big question for an author, right? Can you meet ACX formatting requirements? Yes, I can. Here's my audition. It is ACX compliant, so you can check it and you can see for yourself, right? Trust is a big thing, not only for us as producers, but also for the author on the author side. They want to make sure that who they are spending all of this time and money and putting all this trust in, that person is going to deliver what they say they're going to deliver, right? So make sure that your auditions are ACX compliant and just kind of quell that fear and that question up front, I think. Squirrel. Caesar says, in as much as I'd like repeatedly listening to a section of an audiobook I did particularly well and helps me improve nuance and restraint, there are times when I just don't like how I sound. You, Caesar? I don't believe that. I don't buy that a bit. Which can often lead to spiraling. I will obsessively reevaluate my mic technique, my processing, my analog front end, test new plugins, new equipment, rearrange my effects rack, and so on. I think we need to put mitts on you. Your stuff is fine. It's always been fine. Don't touch it. Don't touch anything. Don't touch anything. Rebecca says, hey, Angela. Hi, Rebecca. I absolutely read my reviews. Maybe it's a lesson I have yet to learn. I don't. I don't read them. Because ultimately what matters to me is the author happy with what I've done? Did I meet the vision that they were aiming for? Right? I mean, you're not going to be able to please 100% of the people 100% of the time. I say that all the time because it matters. You just can't. So not everyone is going to understand your direction. Not everyone is going to understand the author's direction. Not every listener is going to like your voice, right? They just not. Or your style of narration, they're just not. So I don't personally read reviews. I don't. Because I don't want to feed the imposter monster, really. Because, again, ultimately, if the author's happy, I'm happy. And that's all that really matters. Caesar said, and I don't think that'll ever go away. The upside is that we improve. We eventually learn to calm the heck down, celebrate our wins and all that. But gremlins have a way of coming back now and then. Yeah, I don't want to feed the gremlins either by, reading a bunch of comments. And, if someone didn't like my narration or my voice or the way I approached a certain character because they had read the book already and had a completely different voice in their mind, that's not my fault that I couldn't read everybody's mind about a character that they thought. You know what I mean? So I don't want to feed that negativity in my head, if that makes sense. I don't know. What do you guys do? You guys on TikTok, do you read your reviews? Did I just miss another? Oh, okay. Thank you for all the likes on TikTok, you guys. And if you're watching on YouTube, smush that little thumbs up button. And if you're watching this on Team Replay, please consider subscribing. I appreciate it. I just hit 40,000 subscribers. How crazy is that? It's crazy. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Caesar said, that said, hello, everyone. Is Christmas caroling still a thing? Or just where I live? I don't have any. I haven't heard carolers unless you go to some sort of a Christmas event. I don't hear carolers. We don't have carolers. For carolers out there, buy a Mackie Showbox. It's a portable loudspeaker with mix controls and a built-in compressor. Of course you would know that. Of course you would know that, Caesar. Jeez. Paul is here. Good morning. Howdy. George on YouTube says, Merry Christmas, one and all, especially you, Caesar. Hey, good gift idea. Thanks. What else should go? Oh, good. Good voice artists is for gifts as holiday season. I think reading each other or listening to each other's books, I think would be a good present for the holiday season to any audiobook narrator that you know. Buy their audiobook and listen to it. That's a good gift, I think. And leave a good review. Hannah is here, or Hannah, as you've been dubbed. Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Great to be here with all you again, of course. I chose Finding Auditions because ACX is not available. I know that there are plenty of other platforms too, but ACX has just so dang many opportunities compared to other platforms. And that is true. It's because it's an Amazon company, right? And so it's so easy to find. Everybody knows it. Yes, you are absolutely correct. ACX is one of the biggest out there because it is so easy, but there are tons of others. Tons of others. Most of my audiobooks come from Fiverr nowadays, or authors finding my YouTube channel and reaching out to me directly on my website. So again, get on social media. They'll find you that way too. Right? Everyone on TikTok? Right? Make yourself visible. Hannah says, hopefully ACX will someday expand to European countries too. They say they are, but, hopefully. Paul says, good day, Angela et al. My current problem, no vote since not listed on the poll. No voice due to overenthusiastic carol singing. Really? Paul says, and thanks again for the Academy Voices tip. Landed my first job with them today. Congratulations. Fantastic. That's so good. I love it. Academy Voices. Academy Voices is a VO's Journey Academy. That's the academy that I coach for. We have our own audiobook production company, Academy Voices. So you can either join Academy Voices as an independent audiobook narrator, or you can come join our academy and get access to Academy Voices for free as part of your membership. That's my plug for the day. I'm done. Congratulations. Rustic Hillbilly is here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Alicia's here. Hello, everyone. Hello, Alicia. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the likes on TikTok, you guys. I appreciate it. Caesar says to George, Merry Christmas to you. I sent you a small message on Discord. And for you, if you can fit an audio interface in your stocking, I would totally recommend that. Pam is here. Hi, Pam. Good morning. Quite the mess south of us. World Kitchen rolled into a badly hit area. Lots of damage near rivers. We're just soggy here in Bellingham. Oh, no. I have not been on the news. I don't know anything about what's happening right now. I've been just in my cave of wonders, doing my job. Tanya's here, even and all. And then Dylan. Hi, Dylan. Hello, all. I choose none of the above because I'm trying to get away from audiobooks. ADHD makes it tough, but it's like a superpower for short-form projects. Interesting. Why are you trying to get away from audiobooks? George says to Caesar, good idea. Want to recommend a model? We'll talk soon and thanks. I can tell you what model he's going to recommend. I think it's one of the ones that I have in the products and YouTube down below. It's one of the items that are recommended. The solid state logic audio interface. Is that the one? Hannah says, also another pain point I have is auditions taking so long. I wish I was faster, but the whole process, prep, recording, editing, processing, takes so much time to the point, where do you continue, that I'm questioning whether it's worth it. I know that auditioning is a muscle that gets stronger with practice, but it's still a bit frustrating sometimes. And you're absolutely right. And it's going to take the time that it needs to take. Auditions, I think in the beginning for me, took probably 10 minutes, maybe 15, maybe longer. That was a long time ago. I don't really remember. But knowing me, I probably just, banged them out. I probably didn't take as much time as I needed to. But knowing what I know now, which is why you're all here, is to share this information with each other, is I would say it's going to take the time that it's going to take to make sure that it's right. If it takes you 20 minutes to do an audition, that's what it's going to take. But to your point, and you're absolutely right, with practice, it's going to get faster. You're going to start to, it'll be just knee jerk, right? You'll read through an audition script and you'll go, okay, they're looking for this kind of tone. This kind of approach is what I'm going to take. This is the voice that I'm going to use. It becomes second nature the more and more you do it. So just keep doing it. You will get faster and better at it. Hannah. Or Hannah. Caesar says, George to George. An SSL2 MK2. Sweetwater has open box deals and holiday discounts right now. That's right. Sweetwater is the best place to get all of our goodies. But just don't be Caesar and go nuts and buy everything. Caesar has serious gas. Gear acquisition syndrome, not gas. Charisse is here. Good morning. Greetings from sunny SoCal and the high desert. From my old stomping grounds. Welcome, Charisse. Caesar says to Dylan, funny you should mention that ADHD is a superpower for sound engineering. Review Exchange Group says you have 20 times more published audiobooks than I have, so I should probably pay attention to everything you have to say. And then it just comes with time. Keep in mind that it has nothing to do with me or my ability to narrate audiobooks. Keep in mind that, yeah, I have as many audiobooks produced as I do because I've been doing this for 8 years. Right? So don't let comparisonitis step in. It's just because I've been doing this for so long that and I don't just do audiobooks. So if I had focused on audiobooks and audiobooks alone for the last 8 years, it probably would be a lot bigger of a number of produced books. But I do everything. IVR, meditation, video games, how-tos, UGC. I do tons of voiceover work in addition to audiobooks. Just about anything you could put a voice to, I've done it. Caesar says to Hannah, "You're almost there, I assure you. Once your DAW becomes muscle memory and once your read-ahead skills have improved, you'll be golden. You already have a great processing chain." Well, there you go. Just keep at it. Right? Everybody on TikTok? Just keep at it. And that goes with anything that you want to try. The more you do it, the better you're just naturally going to get at it. So just keep doing it. Voice of Garcia says, question, is RX11 standard and or elements an absolute necessity to do an audiobook? No, they are not a necessity, but they are great tools if you need them. And I recommend RX11 standard because that package has the mouth declick. So it gets rid of all the clicks, the mouth clicks that you hear when we're talking, because we're human and we have sticky mouths. And RX11 standard has mouth declick, which is a plugin that specifically targets the organic sounds of the mouth clicks. But it is not a necessity. You can totally produce audiobooks without any kind of plugins at all, if your space and setup allow it. You don't need effects if you don't need effects. You only want to use effects if you need them. I hope I just didn't confuse you more. Cherie says, happy holidays to everyone. Yes, yes, ma'am. Caesar says to Voice of Garcia, not an absolute necessity, but when you have it, it's an absolute godsend. Workflow is immediately accelerated with RX11 standard. Yeah, they're great tools to have, but not like a necessity to produce audiobooks. Voice of Garcia to Caesar says, okay. And what about presets if I choose not to have the plugins now? You mean, just keep in mind that the plugins are there to help get to audio quality wise, get to where you need to be, to help you reduce noise, to help accentuate the sound of your voice, to reduce mouth clicks, to, all of the things that you need if you need them. You don't need effects if you don't need them. They're there to help. Bebop says, good morning. Good morning to you, Bebop. Caesar says to Voice of Garcia, the biggest win is eliminating mouth noise. The de-esser is just okay, but won't win awards. Spectral denoise is great for recording in imperfect environments. Let's see, any more questions? Questions. Ask your questions, y'all. Only got about 20 more minutes that I'm here, so if you have a question about an audiobook audition, please ask. I'm sorry if I missed anything on TikTok. If you had a question on TikTok, please repost it. Let's see. Lauren. Good morning, Lauren. Lauren says, morning. Finally managed to catch one of these. I'm so glad you're here. Let's see. Dylan says, echoes my sentiment to Voice of Garcia. I feel that it depends on your mic technique and mouth dryness. If you don't want to get a mouth declick plugin, just make sure that you're super hydrated. Sometimes even this isn't enough. Staying hydrated. What else reduces mouth clicks? Not eating dairy an hour or two before you start performing. Some say green apples help. The acidity in some of those fruits will help to reduce mouth noise. Some say brushing your teeth immediately before will help to remove some of that clickiness. For me, I've tried everything. I guess I just have a naturally sticky mouth. I don't know what to tell you. But nothing helps better than just taking a swish of water for me. So I always have copious amounts of water in my studio with me when I'm recording anything, and just take a swish of water, and that pretty much helps me. But I use mouth declick as a backup because, when you get going and you don't stop to take a pause, to swish out the mouth, you know, the plugin definitely helps. Lauren is echoing, yes, it's absolutely worth it. Review Exchange Group says, I did learn this month the value of having an Author Central page on Amazon, not available to narrator only folks. I got it because of a 20-year-old book I published on Amazon. Took some time, took some doing, but worth it. Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. See, any questions? You guys have any questions about audiobook auditions? Ask away. Thank you for all of the likes and things on TikTok. I appreciate you guys. Hannah says, oh, guys, by the way, I got my first audiobook recorded. Good for you. The author was super pleased. Insert a cute photo of me at the studio with the script, headphones, and mic. That's awesome. Congratulations. See, you're still making it work, ACX or not. You're still making it work. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Congratulations. Tanya says to Voice of Garcia, I started with Elements and it has sped up my process. Keep in mind, if you buy RX11 Elements and once you're in the isotope family, basically, you can upgrade to standard or to advanced at a lower rate. So if you start at Elements, which is the base package, which doesn't have mouth declick, you can upgrade to standard, which does have the mouth declick, usually at a lower rate than just buying standard outright. But if you're looking into RX11, I also have that as a recommended product down below on YouTube as well through Sweetwater, which has supplied half of my studio, Sweetwater. The other half is Amazon. Some of a B&H photo as well, but mostly Sweetwater. Tanya says, I started with Elements and it sped up my process, but now I've bought standard on sale and have mouth declick, which is my kryptonite when editing. So much faster. Yeah, otherwise you're having to like brush out, like healing brush out all of the individual mouth clicks that actually, you know, the ones that catch your attention that you don't hear as you're narrating. It saves so much time. Voice of Garcia says, but we can learn it ourselves after getting RX11 instead of paying someone else a fortune to do it, especially if they do presets for us, but they overdo it and it makes our audio worse. Yeah, this is why I like the idea of learning your DAW yourself. Yeah, hire an audio engineer if you want to. But at the very least, I would say understand your DAW enough to check your own formatting standards and to understand what all the plugins and all the effects and all of the, you know, understand how all of that stuff affects your voice and what you sound like. Not to be like completely self-sufficient, even though I like to be maybe that's just the Aries in me. I like to be self-sufficient, right? I don't want to have to depend on anybody. I think that's just Aries. But if you understand enough of your DAW on your own and what all the effects and plugins and things do, then you could probably get by without having to hire an audio engineer, but that takes time. So if you want just to, here, take my card, grab an audio engineer and help them out, have them help you out with that. Rebecca says, congrats, Hannah. That's a huge milestone. Absolutely. Yep. Mark says, so are you suggesting to add in some of the potential character voices at the end of an audition, even when it's not in the audition script, but still included in the description? I would say use the character voices I mentioned earlier. Use them if they are called for in the audition. Don't just toss them in because if they are part of the script that you're, because sometimes auditions, the audition portion that the author wants to hear that they give you to audition with will have dialogue in it because they want to see how you're going to handle and differentiate characters. So if that is the case, then that is where you want to apply what I said about character voices. Subtle, make sure they're distinct, but subtle, not over the top. Right? That's what I meant. But thank you for asking. Tanya said, very true about filtering ACX. I started off with only 3 or 4, but I still missed out on a lot of books I would have auditioned for. Now I only have English. Good. Yeah, minimal filtering on ACX. Review Exchange Group said, I only narrate nonfiction, but do not filter out fiction because sometimes a book is miscategorized by the author. That is another reason. I see that a lot. Either miscategorized or they just don't apply all the filters that they should have. Because again, it's overwhelming. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to sort of navigate through, especially if you've never been on ACX before. It can be a little bit confusing. If it's confusing for you as a narrator, imagine what it looks like on the author's end with all of these options and buttons to click and things. And some people either don't have the patience to get through all of that, or, you know, maybe they overdo it, or maybe they just underdo it. But if you keep your filtering as a narrator to a minimum, then you won't miss out on a lot of these books that were miscategorized or the box simply wasn't checked that you checked, right? You might miss out on a lot of opportunities. Review Exchange Group says, sometimes the early bird gets the worm. Check often. Sometimes a book you're interested in auditioning when you saw it in the morning has been awarded to someone else by the evening. Yes. And I understand for those of you that are still working for someone else, and maybe you're scrolling through ACX looking for something to audition for in the morning while you're having your coffee with a plan to full-on audition when you get home from work. Just keep in mind that book may not be available by the time you get back. Maybe this author has a very short timeline in which they need this book because they're trying to, you know, align the release of the audiobook with also the release of the print and Kindle copies. So, and maybe they misjudged how long that would take and they need it rather quickly. So, you know, if you see something that you want to audition for it right away. If you don't want to have your nose rubbed in it, if that's the case, if you find something and you want to audition when you get home, frog, I would say don't even look. Or maybe look, maybe save them for later, and maybe they will be there when you get back, but don't count on it, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm going off on a tangent. Pausing the tangent. Dylan says, I read reviews. I shouldn't, because even a 4-star review makes me feel like a failure, but I still do it occasionally. and that's me. And that's me for sure. I don't want to feed the imposter monster. I want that guy to go away. I don't want to feed it. No. Starve that guy. Review Exchange says, it's not as important to read your reviews as it is to seek some reviews, editorial reviews especially. Let's see. Looking for questions. Professor, you're now professor. Professor Tracy says, with all the standards on ACX, what is the criteria that's hardest to maintain? What do you mean? Like formatting standards? Audition standards? What do you mean? Which standards? Review Exchange Group says, great fun as a narrator this Sunday. My church does a choir and orchestra special with great music and scripture. I had the privilege of narrating 2 services. Exhilarating, powerful script. That's awesome. Good for you. Good for you. That's awesome. Review Exchange Group says 40,000. What if we all brought donuts? I know. I would have so many donuts. I like donuts. They are my kryptonite. 40K, wow. I know. But I've had this channel for, how long have I had this channel? 6 years? I think I started this YouTube channel 6 years ago. But it's still very, very humbling. And on top of that, I think only, was it like 60-something% of people who watch my content don't subscribe? So when you think about that, there's a lot more people that actually see my face and hear my tangents. Oh my God, I'm trying not to think about it. My introvert is screaming. My inner introvert is screaming. My God. Mary Lynn says, to review exchange group, I narrated at my church on Sunday. Such a great opportunity and so rich. All right. Let's see. Questions. Caesar says, another non-sponsored plug for Mouth Krispies. I love that, Mouth Krispies. I should use that more often. Consider mouth noise is what he's talking about, the mouth clicks. Consider Biotine's line of dry mouth products. Their mouth gel is fast-acting, so is their mouth spray. They also have candies and mouth rinse. Flying Brian says, yes, apples help tremendously. I've tried everything. Sour Patch Kids? Really? That would work because there's acid in those. Right? Because you're looking for something acidic to... I'm not saying go drink acid or anything. Oh, Jesus Christ. No, like food acids are naturally occurring in food, like in citrus. There's acids in citrus. God, please don't do anything dumb. Sour Patch Kids, those get rid of my mouth noise. Interesting. Flying Brian says, is your water cold or room temperature? Room temperature water is better for your body to utilize right away, to hydrate you properly. If it's cold, then your body has to warm it up first, which expends more calories, which I guess in that respect isn't a bad thing, but you can't use it as quickly as you can as if the water was room temp. And if it's cold water, that could hurt your teeth if you have sensitive teeth. That's it. Just take a swish, rinse everything out, right? Caesar says Sour Patch Kids are great, but you may have to relocate once the neighborhood notices that children are going missing. Caesar. Of course, Caesar's got jokes. Micah on TikTok says, I've been thinking of starting. Should I start an ACX? You could. I started with LibriVox, where you volunteer your time. You volunteer your voice for audiobooks in the public domain. I started there, not, I hate to say to practice, but I guess to see if this was something that I could do. Mainly in the formatting, the file formatting aspect. I wanted to make sure that I could do that part. And I did. And then I went on to ACX once I was a little bit more comfortable with everything. Brian says, what should you do? Hang on, I gotta do the puzzle thing for TikTok so they know I'm human, I guess. What should you do if a rights holder does not pay for narration services? I would get ACX involved if that's the case. But this is especially one of the reasons why I say to collect a down payment up front. A non-refundable down payment up front. Because this will dissuade scammers. This will ensure that you're paid something if the rights holder decides to run away or something, right? And it covers your time. It covers all of the work that you've already done up to that point, if something changes. And then you collect the remainder, you know, in my case, 50% when the book is done. But if you're on ACX, I would definitely get ACX involved. Crystal says, good morning. This newbie doesn't know what you mean by DAW. A DAW is a digital audio workstation. That is your recording software. So you have, excuse me, you have Reaper, Audacity, Adobe Audition. That's the DAW that I use. There's a handful of them out there, but those are the big three that are typically used. And I always forget to mention that when we say DAW, we always forget to mention that's a digital audio workstation. So thank you for asking that question. Alexia on TikTok says, what percentage would you require for a down payment? Usually 50% is what I ask for. I have heard of some people asking for 20, 30, but I start at 50 and I can always move it to 30 or something like that if the author wants to. But 50% is usually what I stick with. That's just the way that I do business, right? Keep in mind, this is a business partnership transaction. So you do have some say in how this transaction goes. And if that is your way of doing business, which it is for me, 50% upfront and then 50% when the book is complete. It's fair. It's fair on both sides. Mohammed says, please tell me a website to use for voice acting. I want to make money. You mean as for finding work? Fiverr, Upwork, any freelance site, those global freelance marketplaces. I'm having a brain fart, but there's a ton of them. And then there's also all of the pay-to-plays for voice acting. There's voices.com, Voice123, Voice Jungle, Voice Bunny, Voice Giant. There's Bodalgo. There's a ton of them. Seriously, if you just open up our friend Google and ask Google or ChatGPT. A lot of people ask ChatGPT for stuff now. And just ask them, where can I, upload my profile to solicit voiceover work? And you'll find dozens of them. Tanya says to Crystal, it's Digital Audio Workstation, the software you use to record your audio files, Audition, Audacity, Reaper. Let's see. VoiceOver Lisa's got news. Just received my second audiobook offer. Merry Christmas. Congratulations. Dylan says, please don't do anything dumb. No deal. Don't tell me how to live my life, Angela. Robert, yes, I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow as well. And if you want to pick my brain for a half an hour, and that goes for anybody watching anywhere, go to my website, voiceoverangela.com. If you go to my one-on-one page, you can book 30 minutes with me to pick my brain about whatever. If it's voiceover, audiobook narration, file formatting standards, if you want to talk about your Fiverr gigs, if you want to, whatever it is that you want to talk about, you have 30 minutes to pick my brain. You can do that on voiceoverangela.com. I don't know why I'm losing my voice. Maybe because I was narrating all day yesterday. It's going to be a rough one today, let me tell you. Goodness. Review Exchange Group says, be aware that it is fairly simple to publish a book on Amazon Kindle. If you, as a narrator, have a story in you, then do a Kindle ebook and get an Author Central page. Yes, all of you narrators can also be authors. Write your own book and then narrate it, and then you can collect all the royalties. You don't have to share them with anybody. Write your own book. You can talk about your audiobook narration journey and everything that you've learned thus far. Thank you, Caesar, for all the chilies. You're spicy. You are super spicy. Making me super spicy. Oops, I just saw a question. Alexia says, do you have a welcome packet sample? Ooh, good question. We had somebody in our Launchpad group. I think it was Erica. Wasn't it Erica Calvert? She shared her welcome packet, and she had a whole packet. And that is such a great idea because it has all the information a rights holder could want to know up front, delivered right to them. And then in that packet, you could detail the whole process of the audiobook process, like how it goes from start to finish, so they know what to expect. You can detail how you collect the 50% up front if it's a per finished hour book. You can even include some details about how to upload the files to ACX if that's the platform that they're choosing. You can have all of this information in a welcome packet, and I think that's such a great idea for the authors. And I think we do have one. We do have that in our group folder. In Launchpad, we have a group folder of resources, and I think that is one of the things in it. But I don't have one handy to show you right now, but yes, we do. Thank you for all the chilies, Caesar. You're amazing. Any other questions? Any other questions? Either on... Do we have any on... We have no questions on Instagram. We have no more questions on TikTok. Hang on, let me scroll back down. All right, let's check YouTube. Joy is here. You're late. I hope you brought donuts. 40,000 of them. Hello, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Just got in from a doctor's appointment. You're excused. Let me see the note. Picked up some Krispy Kreme donuts. My problem is finding clients who want a voice actor with a sultry voice. I know lots of rights holders who want voice actresses with sultry voices. Joy. Come on now. Caesar said, Eric and I believe Melissa Marie Schreiner have great welcome packages. I'm not reading that, Caesar. I'm not reading that YouTube comment, Caesar. I'm just not. No, Caesar. Joy says, could someone tell me more about welcome packages? We just talked about them, Joy. We can totally talk about them. We can talk about them in Launchpad too. Did Melissa post hers somewhere? If you're in Launchpad, or even in my old Platinum group, post your welcome packages and we'll talk about them. We'll talk about that. I mean, it's a great topic, but it's essentially what I just said. It's a PDF or a Word doc that's got your whole narration process in it. Perhaps even how royalty share works. You could include that this is how you do business with me. I collect 50% up front, and then once the book is delivered to you and all the revisions are complete, if there are any, then I send you an invoice for the remaining 50%, however you want to do it. I mean, there's anything you could think of in terms of a question that the author may have. You can detail the answers, like the expectations, up front in this welcome packet. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, but we just talked about it, Joy. Why don't you schedule your doctor's appointments for later in the day? Kidding. Kidding. But at least you brought donuts. Anywho, well, I don't see any more questions anywhere, so I'm going to call this good for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I really appreciate it. I will be here again next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah, right before Christmas. No. Christmas is the following week. No, it isn't. Christmas is next week, isn't it? I'll still be here on Tuesday. We take no vacations here. I do see a question. Okay, the Mrs. Robertson says, how long were you practicing on LibriVox before you started your YouTube channel? It was, well, I did 3 projects on LibriVox, but I started my YouTube channel years later. I didn't start my YouTube channel until I was about 2 years into this because I was persuaded to, and I'm glad I did. Yes, and Caesar has got a great presentation this Thursday for Launchpad. So all of you in Avio's Journey Academy, come to Launchpad on Thursday if you want to learn more about dual and duet and character. What was that big long title that you had, Caesar? Basically character voices. So excited for that. But as far as today is concerned, that's all I got for today. So come back next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. And I will see you guys all then. So, bye.